That's one reason why I love Don Miguel is he's humble enough to say there's nothing new under the sun, and everything that I'm writing in this book is stuff that you already know, and
Mhm.
I'm just reminding you of it. And at the end of the day, it's your choice to agree to any of it or disagree with any of it. There's no you know, I'm not a Jordan Peterson hater, but like the 12 rules of life, I just don't even like the way that's worded. Like agreements is much more suitable for me as a yin yang, the yin yang speaking to me. I feel like I'm only, I'm responsible for what I say. You're responsible for what you understand. I'm only responsible for my half of any relationship. That's kind of more like my worldview. And so agreements resonate with me more than rules. Um, so anyways, that's my take on that. One thing I wanted to talk about with you, because you seem um, just very in tune with yourself, is, what do you think about ego? Do you think, I mean, I think pretty much everybody agrees that ego at least can be a problem in this day and age, is a big problem for most people. But I also hear a lot of people talk about killing the ego. And my personal take on that is I think that the ego is very infected with lies, and it is a big part of the problem. So it is right to bring that into the discussion. Um, However, I do see the solution as more cleaning up the ego and using it for what it can be good for, protecting your sense of identity, allowing you to be in command of your own story, so to speak. Um, but I definitely agree that, as a collective, I think we're a little on the more arrogant side, at least especially in America. You're up in Canada, so it's a little different up there. But, Americans definitely struggle, I think, in my opinion, with ego, at least, taking it all the way to where I think it's imbalance and it's more of an arrogance thing. Um, but I think because of that, there's this like overcorrection and over response, to where a lot of people are like, kill the ego. The ego is like our 100% our problem. What's your take on that? I like I said, I think it's more like we need to clean up the ego. And yes, it is heavily infected with some pretty shitty viruses that I think are all rooted in fear for the most part. Um, but again, I don't think the solution is to kill it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I feel like the ego is needed in to achieve like you said, the sense of identity, and even just to have that sense of purpose and almost like the drive to do what you want to do, or do what
Like the
um
separate yourself skit on Pressure Point.
yeah, yeah, exactly, to be able to stand out, to make an impact on the world, or even just leave a legacy behind for other people. um Whether that's small, you can want to keep it to your family unit, or if you want to make an impact on a community, or like at a larger scale. But without the ego, I feel like, if you go to this whole concept of killing the ego, I feel like you lose your sense of identity and purpose, and you just feel like you just kind of,
I think
I
it
would
can
say,
lead to depression. I've
yeah.
seen it. I've seen it with some people, and those people had big egos. So what they were trying to do to correct that was kill their ego, and that kind of and that's the reason why I see it the way I see it, is because I kind of see that when you kill your ego, that can almost, like you were just saying, you lose your sense of purpose, and that
Mhm.
can lead to depression.
Yeah, because I think what I imagine killing the ego may result in is almost this feeling like you are just a grain of sand in this vast world, and you can't do anything with it, or with your life, or with your make an impact on anyone or anything. So I think I do agree that's definitely a lot of clean up, or at least try to bring back that balance of knowing that you need your ego to have that sense of identity and purpose, but at the same time you don't want to feel too strongly about it to the point where you're arrogant, or where that becomes more destructive than constructive. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm glad you used the word balance, because the ego really is a big part of what I'm focused on with this podcast. Um, I feel like, one thing I see with like arrogant people is they're usually putting other people down. But
Mhm.
egos that are comfortable with themselves, that they're still egos, they haven't killed their ego. They're usually trying to lift other people up. They're usually trying to um, you know, gas other people up. They're trying to show other people, like, you deserve to have an ego. Don't let it get out of control. Don't get arrogant. But you're a good person. Like, just in general, giving compliments. I feel like
Yeah.
there's a almost a resistance from some people to give other people compliments because they're worried that it might, I don't want to inflate his ego. You hear that from people, but it's like, what if that person really needs to hear that? You know
Yeah,
what I
and I think it's
mean?
just even just like appreciation, right? Just comes down to
Right.
like, it's like one ego acknowledging that, all right, this person has an ego, they're doing their thing, they have this sense of identity in there, and this is the kind of changes that they want to make to, or the impact that they want to make with their life. And I think just acknowledging and appreciating that could just be like, step one, right? You don't have to go and like I don't know, like lift them up or continuously praise them, but just acknowledging the fact that they're doing their thing. That's okay. You don't need to put them down to make yourself feel like you're also going up and or feel like you're in a better place. So I think that's where the imbalance is starting, where people are kind of ranking
Crabs in a
themselves,
bucket.
or yeah, that whole mentality. Exactly.
Yeah. I think a healthy ego is not scared to admit that they have an ego, but they're also strong enough to say, listen, I'm trying to lift you up. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
put you down. I think you should. I feel so great about myself that I want you to feel that good about yourself. You know what I mean? I don't want to put you down by any means. That's not if I understand myself the way I understand myself, is that we're all connected and we're all one on a larger, spiritual, whatever you want to call that. But I feel like humanity is connected in some mysterious ways, and we are all one. At that level, we all have our own ego too. So that is the balancing act. That's the ultimate balancing act right there, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, but yeah, man, I wanted to hear you speak on that, just like I said, because I feel like you are one of those egos that it's not out of control. You're far from arrogant, but you're not putting other people down. You're willing to compliment other people when they do well. You're not, blowing sunshine up people's asses, but you're also comfortable enough to give somebody a compliment and without worrying about inflating their ego or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that also took a journey to just get to this point, because I remember when I was like quite almost like during the whole stage of that, when I was creating that first album, I felt like I was too much on the other side of, with the whole idea of kill the ego. And
It's a hippie.
it's
It's like an initial hippie
yeah.
thing. I don't know.
And you're right about the whole like, the feelings of depression that you get, like the loss, losing the sense of purpose. Because I was so into like thinking that, hey, we're all one, treat each other the same, we're all equal, and almost just like removing that sense of identity away. And I realized how much that impacted in what I wanted for myself. I was doing a lot of things for others, and like kind of expecting that, we will all just help each other out or like lift each other the same way. And I was expecting like kind of equality all around. And I was doing a lot more for other people, or like for like the greater good versus for myself. And eventually that really caught up to me, where I was just like, okay, I'm not doing anything for myself. I feel so lost in life. I have to take a step back. And it took me about a year or two to kind of realize, all right, there's stuff I need to do for myself, for my like own sense of identity, and just for my ego. And at the same time, there's still ways that I can support and recognize anyone else is doing the same. And I think it took me a while to find that balancing act, because I went like the total opposite way of being arrogant, just totally, I don't know what the opposite of arrogant is, but whatever that is, then having to come back to this balance.
Yeah, it's almost like humility to a fault. I saw it with one of my friends growing up. He's just, and still to this day, I feel like he could be a little bit more confident. It's like I don't know, and like you were just saying, serving other people. and then expect, you can't expect everybody to be as loving as you know. I definitely went through that phase myself where I was just giving so much of myself to other people with the expectation that they're going to do the same for me. And if it just keeps not happening, that just continues to drain you. And at some point you have to set boundaries for yourself and create a healthy ego, not just totally kill
Exactly.
your ego and live for other people and never chase any of your own goals or your purpose or discover your purpose or your, deeper desires, like true desires in life. All of that, I think, is connected to the healthy ego, not the arrogant, look at me, that kind of putting other people down, I'm better than you ego. That's a different, that's the unhealthy, that's the parasite, is what the Toltecs would call that.
Mm.
But yeah, man, I mean, that was really awesome. At